The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. Parents' involvement in their children's education is extremely important. Today we'll be discussing a special project sponsored by the St. Paul Public Schools, the Transition Program. Program Director Elaine Raspel-Borth and Homeschool Liaison Jeff Milligan-Toffler will talk about the way the St. Paul Public School System is helping parents feel more comfortable as they meet their children's teachers and get involved in school activities. Later on in the program, we'll be talking with several parents involved in the transition program. Elaine and Jeff, it's a pleasure to have you here on All About Kids today. You're both heavily involved in a project in the St. Paul schools called the Transition Project, and this is, I think, kind of a new way of looking at what happens to children who have had some preschool or no preschool experience and then get into the school system, a way of supporting both the children and their families. Describe what it is that you are doing.
Well, we are attempting to provide, like you said, comprehensive services for families. We do this through a variety of means, and it includes family activities at the schools and the communities. We do parenting groups or specific things just for parents. We do provide social services. We sort of act as resources for parents so that the family's needs can be met, so they're better able to meet their children's needs. And we also have a health and wellness component. The 4 components are based on Head Start's model of comprehensive family services.
So you find that families often, when their children start school, don't know how to work the system. They're kind of scared if they've had the support that programs like Head Start have given. And you are working with these families then to continue that support, get them involved in the school system. Elaine, what's the reaction from school administrators and faculty? We hear a lot about the need to involve families in schools, but I've often wondered if it works as well when families actually get involved. Change happens then.
Mm-hmm. It seems like in the last 3 or 4 years there's been a real initiative in the St. Paul schools to include parents in at all levels of the school experience for children. And we've been exploring what kinds of strategies work or what kinds of barriers there are to prevent parent involvement. And so through Chapter 1 programs in the St. Paul schools and the Office of Parent and Community and Volunteer Relations and a couple other initiatives, we're really trying to explore how to get parents involved. I think we were really lucky that we had the opportunity with some ECFE programming and expanded ECFE money to try some different kinds of programming to see how we could really involve parents. And I think parents have been very responsive and very happy to become involved, and you can see parents that have had experiences working with their preschools and kind of coming into a school program and being welcomed, and how they, I think they're affirmed by that, and they really become more involved and are happy to see that maybe their idea that they wouldn't have been involved isn't really true, and that they're really accepted at the schools.
So the accepted at the schools is a really important point, I think. So when parents feel that they are welcome and that their opinions do count with both faculty and administration, then that involvement becomes stronger, and ultimately the kids do better. Mm-hmm. Because every contact they have with the school isn't negative. Mm-hmm. What are some of the ways, now you talked a little bit about early childhood family education programs and family activities. You've brought some interesting pictures of a variety of activities, and we'll we'll pan over those pictures while you're describing some of them. What would be kind of a normal family activity?
Well, we would set something up at the school where the children would have the opportunity to work with their parents to maybe make something. And it might be kind of crafts oriented, and everybody essentially has a good time. The children have the chance to see that their parents are there at the school, they're comfortable at the school, they are able to take something away with them. It's usually educational, so it might be a family geography night or a family math night or something like that.
Now I know that one of the situations families sometimes run into is a lack of transportation or the need to have a meal. Do you provide these sorts of things?
What we've been able to do with the transition project, we've had the funds, which are unusual, to provide transportation, and we also do provide meals, and we provide child care for siblings, so that we really focus on the relationship between the school-age child and the parents. And so we've been able to develop programming that includes everyone, and then provide the funds to get everybody there and have a nice experience. And
we're trying to break down whatever barriers there might be that would get in the way of the parents accessing the school successfully, and having them feel like they're truly a part of their child's education.
So a parent who perhaps didn't have a very good school experience himself or herself, and thinks that if they walk into that school, that teacher that they remember from their childhood is going to be replicated.
School's a very intimidating place, I think, for a lot of parents. We've found that.
Or parents perhaps in St. Paul for whom English is not their first language and who may not know what the school system in the United States is like. That could be a real...
We do provide interpreters at all of our events, and so that we try to eliminate language as a barrier. Sometimes it's not always as easy with all the families, but we do try.
One of the components that you talked about was helping parents in terms of their own educational needs. So you have a family literacy component, and as you get to know the families, do you do some referral of these families to other programs, or do you actually provide those kinds of literacy or adult basic education services yourself?
We provide two different programs. We've been able to provide two different programs. At Jackson School, we've been able to develop a Hmong Family Empowerment Project, and this has been in progress, a developing program for the last 3 years. It started in, that would be 91, 92 school year. And what we've done is we have a computer program, an English language computer program that is Hmong to English. And so we've been able to collaborate with the adult ed program and some of the other existing programs in the district to develop a family-centered program for our Hmong families. And we've been able to provide an experience that would be kind of a medium kind of step to the existing other ESL programs. This is not meant to be the end-all ESL program, but it's another experience. At East Consolidated, we were able this year to develop a Families Learning Together program, which is English-speaking adult kinds of computer-assisted learning. But it's also meant as an interim step to the existing adult education programs in the district. So we do provide kind of the...
it's a transition for adults.
It's a transition, right. It's a step to the existing programs, right.
I think something that's unique with the programming Elaine is describing is that it is family focused. There really is something for everyone. We don't just have babysitting. We have educational activities going on, typically with licensed teachers for the children, while the parents maybe are doing their thing, maybe they're in a parent group, and then they come together for a while and have a parent-child time. That I think is somewhat unique, and I mean I think you'd agree that we see it as essential at getting at children learning the best and really hooking them into the educational system at the early grades.
Well, the research that I've read shows that unless parents are involved and know what's happening, it's pretty hard for the children to succeed. This obviously is a model program. After 3 years, have you noticed a dramatic change as children go on in school? Have teachers been pleased at children who've been through your program, at their success in the classroom?
Preliminary results indicate, and this is very preliminary, but the teachers are, we are a demonstration project and we have evaluators, and some of the first indicators, we're just getting some of the data back. The teachers are saying things like the children are more socially adept, the children are more ready to learn, the children are, they seem to be very positive about the children's kinds of attitudes about school, and we've also seen a difference in their kind of the quality and quantity of their response concerning parent involvement too, and they're looking at things like what questions parents ask at conferences, and that they're more specifically related to their children, whereas maybe those kinds of questions weren't being asked before. So I think teachers are becoming more kind of sophisticated about parent involvement, and they're almost starting to take it for granted, and so which is great.
Oh,
great to see that kind of.
Yeah, and I think something that's important to say for the long haul, this is a demonstration project. We have independent evaluation both at this site, and by the way, we're just one of 32 sites nationally. So they're hoping to get longitudinal data to see if these transition services do have an impact. If they do, and we think that they will, this could alter elementary education significantly.
It's one of those changes of the educational system that we've been waiting for. So your program is funded partly through federal dollars and partly through local school district monies.
Mm-hmm. The majority of the funds are provided by a grant through the Department of Health and Human Services and the Head Start Department.
Have you had a steady stream of elected officials and policymakers coming through to watch to see if this works, if this is another flash in the pan?
Well, we'd certainly like to see more. I do think it's being watched by Congress. It was suggested, the legislation was suggested by Senator Kennedy and Senator Dodds?
Mm-hmm. Christopher Dodd.
Originally. So I do think it's being watched.
It actually has had an impact on the current reauthorization of Chapter 1, Title 1. And
I wish they wouldn't change the names all the time.
I know, we just say them both. Because they just recently added transition type activities into the reauthorization, and I think that they're ready to vote soon.
And Title I, which used to be Chapter 1, is a program for children who have been identified as needing some special help in school, just to...
Right, and it's based on, funds are allocated based on the number of children receiving free and reduced lunch. And so one of the things that I've found really interesting about this project is that it seems like it's the first time the Department of Health and Human Services is talking to the Department of Education in Washington, and they're really looking at this as the beginning of a collaboration for themselves as well as collaboration among local sites. They're really seeing that they need to address all the issues or whatever, and be more collaborative themselves and connect their programs.
The whole reinvention of government and the idea
That's
of
right.
so many of the services offered for families are fragmented. And
Exactly.
it's not very good for a family to have to access at many, many different points. The collaborative word is something we hear a lot about. In addition to collaborating within the school district, are you working with any outside agencies or organizations?
We've had the opportunity to have some great collaborations that I've been really thrilled with. We just recently finished a on-site health clinic that the public health nurses conducted in collaboration with the Eastside Health Coalition. That's over in the Payne Arcade area. And we thought we would just try to see what would happen. We do have a wellness component, and one of the things that we were finding is that the preschool children were not immunized currently, or whatever. It ended up they would come to kindergarten and have to catch up. And so we were trying to see if we could impact somehow this immunization effort. So this collaboration was is kind of this partnership is going on. We became part of it, and we thought, well, let's try an on-site, a school site immunization clinic. And I think we had 36 children at Fallon Lake last Thursday night that now are current.
That,
So
that otherwise may have entered kindergarten without their shots.
Right, they fall through the cracks.
Right.
So we were really thrilled with that one. We also have been doing we do so many different kinds of programming, so it's kind of, I hope I don't forget anyone, but one of the, another significant collaboration that we've found is the Father's Resource Center out of Minneapolis is providing parent group facilitators for one of our family programs, and that has worked out extremely well.
Again, the new trend that men are really very important in children's lives, and fathers are essential, so they've done some very interesting things. Hopefully along the line there'll be increased collaboration with the public library, because obviously you've talked a lot about books and reading and the literacy component, so and we can even mention the public library as a collaboration, because we just recently finished a family activity where we had gotten 16mm films from the library on children's stories, and we took them over to the auditorium at the Technical College in St. Paul and invited families over and had children's stories with families, and it was movie night, and at the end of the movie night they all got books that were instead of their high cholesterol popcorn.
Right. That's right. We couldn't do popcorn.
Well, we've done some talking about involving parents in the program and at school, and I think that no interview would be complete without talking to some of the parents and having them describe some of the things that they're doing with you all. So let's hear from a couple of parents.
Wonderful.
Great.
Robin Settle and Mr. Lee, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And you are both parents who are very active in the transition program. Robin, what are your children's ages and how did you get involved and what's happening?
Well, I have a 9-year-old, she's in 3rd grade, a 5-year-old in kindergarten who is in the transition program, and I have a 2-year-old. I got involved in the transition program because my kindergartner fell into the program, and I feel that a parent component is very essential in our children's education, and I think that parent component has been kind of shoved to the wayside through the years. So I'm active in other areas in the community and in the school, but the transition program has really been a wonderful experience for our family.
So even though you have an older child, you're much more comfortable talking to teachers or just going into the school and getting involved than you would have been earlier?
Earlier in the program you had talked about parents who didn't have a good experience in their own schooling. I was one of those. So coming into the school when my daughter entered kindergarten was a very intimidating thing for me, and I had to go through a lot of soul searching myself and decide what kind of education I wanted my children to have and how much participation I wanted to have in that. And I think that the transition program has bridged a lot of that gap for a lot of parents. We have so many different races and things going on in our communities that there is a lot of intimidation, not to mention the intimidation that the teachers themselves place on us as parents.
Kind of they are the experts,
right.
And they are the ones who know what it should be, and not always understanding that parents are their children's first teacher, and that you also know your children better than teachers ever could.
Right. But I think that there was a program that I was involved in with the transition program, and that was the family workshop. And it ran for 8 weeks, 8 or 9 weeks, where transition families would meet, and we would have a parent group to begin with, and our children were all separated into other various different rooms, and they did activities, and it gave the parents an opportunity to really feel part of a community.
And I think parents need to talk to each other to understand that they're not the only ones who are worried about what their kids are doing in school, or to know that your child in 3rd grade probably is acting the same way as everybody else's 3rd grader or your kindergartner. Now, Mr. Lee, you are from Laos originally.
That's correct.
And you have one daughter who's in the St. Paul schools. And transition has been helpful to you in learning how the American school system works?
Yeah, my child, when she started a preschool, and then during that year we had a transition program, and then we just transferred to kindergarten class in Jackson School. After that, I think the transition had involved with with our family, and usually I and my wife had to go there and watch the kid to do activities to encourage my child to learn. And when she felt that we were there, and she'd be happy to learn, and look, now she began to read, and she felt that it's very important that we, the parents, support her too.
Well, when you haven't had an experience in a school in the United States, it's again hard to get into it, and so this program helps you understand what parents do here. And
right. Usually, we in our country we had not going to school at all for our parents. So now, if we get involved with the transition program and involved with the school, for example, like activity like math and geography night, so that bring the parent to school and show that how the school is supposed to be running for their child and how to teach the kid. So that's very important for our parents.
Do you find that many more of the Laotian American families are getting involved and feeling much more confident about what they can do for their children?
Yeah, I think in the last 2 years, until now, the transition project has involved with the school, and I have seen the more among parents come to school with their children and want to find out what the way to cope with the children and how to teach them, so make sure that we'll benefit in the future.
One of the things that was so interesting, Robin, you mentioned the variety of races and ethnic backgrounds that the children in the St. Paul schools are experiencing, and the excitement of people from different cultures and different countries contributing. So your children have had a real opportunity to experience things that other children in Minnesota may not.
Yeah, they do.
What are some of the things that the transition program is doing, Mr. Lee, to help Hmong children maintain and celebrate their culture, their Hmong culture, as well as the culture of the United States?
We do have some kind of folk story to tell the Hmong story, and we also have some interpreter work in the transition. We also have the call family service to go to make a home visit. For example, the 1 year they had to make 1 or 2 visits with the parents, so they can talk to the parent what kind of improvement that they want to meet. So after they get there, then they can talk to the parent if any problem that they want the transition to provide for them. So that has been very good help for among parents.
When you have the family discussions, do the transition project staff facilitate so that if you're having discipline problems or homework help problems, they kind of help you all talk about what's going on, and yet you're the ones who are making the decisions about what's best for your children?
Right, right. I think one of the things that really impacted me in the family workshop events was we have a lot of single parent families, and trying to weigh, what your priorities are in that kind of a situation is tough. And I think it really empowered the parents to know that you're okay and your kids are okay and everything's just fine and you're on the right track, and you have support. This isn't, you're not sending your child to school by yourself and having to correct the papers and deal with the school kinds of things. You've got other parents that are as concerned as you are for your children.
That is very positive, and the idea too that if you're a single parent or even in a family with two parents, there's so much going on, and school is different for all of us than now than it was, and the challenges that children face certainly in terms of learning and also in terms of society. Everybody needs to learn different kinds of parenting skills, I think, than we had or grew up with. So
Right.
projects like Transition can really help you. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to doing next fall with the project?
I think we will participate in more school involved, and probably we will help them to set up some kind of program to help the Hmong community to make sure that all the Hmong get involved and make sure that, and we also, I would like to talk to them about the transition so that they can invite other agencies to come there, give some kind of presentation about education, about health, and sometimes about gang related, so that Hmong can manage their children in the future.
So even very young children are learning
Yeah.
about gangs, and their parents are
Concerned
learning
about
skills to help.
Right.
Of course. Well, it sounds like there's no end of topics, and it's great to see that you're both so enthusiastic about the Transition program. Thanks very much for being here on All About Kids today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
The Transition program is obviously making a difference for parents and children in the St. Paul Public Schools. Thank you, Elaine Raspel-Borth, Jeff Milligan-Toffler, Ms. Settle, and Mr. Lee. Thanks to all of you for joining us on All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.